Hey, what's going on YouTube, and welcome to this month's Beige Carpet After Party live stream review, where we're going to talk about the most recent live stream, number 66, which aired tonight. And as usual, we've got some guests that are going to help us talk about that and kind of give you some hot take opinions and reviews. We got some new voices on the video tonight as well, so I'm very excited to let them say hello and introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about what they're doing here and where they're from. And then we'll get some started with some questions and, have some fun talking about the live stream. So everybody, why don't we just start at the top and let you guys work your way down?
What's up, guys? Sinzar here. Thanks again to Gert for inviting me. It's always fun to talk about the recent live stream, whether good or bad. It's just fun to discuss it.
Absolutely.
What's going on, everybody? It's dbarry. It's good to be back. I am a little bit of everywhere, but less than I used to be because life gets busy. But these are always fun. I can't wait to do it.
Glad you could make it. Go ahead, Fabz.
Oh, okay. I was waiting for Lady M, but I guess I'll take it. Hey, everybody, I'm Fabz. You probably, if we're friends in game, it's IWFabz. I guess I'm one of the new faces he was talking about. I've been around the community here and there, but I'm not a very talkative guy. So I kind of like to just hide around in the shadows, just talking with people I'm already familiar with. So this is a new thing for me. So hopefully this will go well.
So far, so good. Thanks for being here.
Hi, I am EmK Ultra. You may have heard my voice shaking on a couple videos in the past, but here I am again, excited to be here. Few of us, three of us, admin Final Fantasy Brave XV's Facebook global group, so you might know us from there. And thanks for having me. Let's go.
Let's go. So we're gonna start off with some questions. So what's your initial reaction, if any, to tonight's live stream event? And you guys just all jump in there. Whoever's got an initial reaction, let's hear it.
At this point, I'm kind of used to their format where they just go with some little fluff in the beginning with Hiroki, and then we go to Tony and Justin. So not really surprised. Kind of went as expected. It wasn't good. It wasn't bad. It was just the usual, I guess.
Not upset they didn't do any unnecessary wasabi games though.
Yeah, I noticed that this one was a little shorter than the last couple. I think that might have been because of the lack of wasabi games.
Yeah, the gaming stuff took, I think it was 40 minutes last month, so that definitely was a time killer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt a lot shorter, and I couldn't put my finger on why, but that's what it was. I normally tune out in the games. I'm sorry, but now that you mention it, without the games, yeah, there really wasn't a whole lot going on.
Because the only game that mattered was being shown on TV. Which we could talk about for a while, and the idea of putting a live stream during one of the most televised events in the world, but neither here nor there. I guess we assume that FFBE players don't watch sports.
I think that might be the first time anyone on my channel has ever said sports. So that's kind of fun.
I'm full of surprises.
You really are. MK, anything?
Yeah, I know we're not supposed to, we're not the center of the world, but come on, this is one of the biggest events in the world, and you didn't account for that? Come on.
Interesting timing, yeah.
Well, since global is huge in the US, yeah, they should have maybe considered that.
Even The Last of Us aired on Friday so that it didn't conflict with the Super Bowl. I don't...
There you go. That part was done well. Cool. So my second question for you guys is, of what was shared, what would you say is the most exciting or engaging thing you saw or heard about? And then, as a secondary question, does anything that you saw worry or concern you?
Very concerned. I'm very concerned that Ong had so few votes. And that's all I'm going to say. But at least he's in the top 10. So now, to me, granted, numbers 7 through 10, which we'll talk about in a minute, should all at least be in the top 5. But fine. Everything's fine. I'm fine. You're fine too. It's all good.
So for me, the most exciting thing was 85 mitigation. I have been asking for these global units to stop acting like Runda doesn't exist for 2 years and making these subpar tanks. And finally, they have decided to, do an 85 mitigation tank. It took 2 years. We went through Maeve, Lilith, Behemi, etc. Bunch of tanks. None of them could tank as good as Runda. We're finally getting 85, so I'm extremely excited about that.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
She is adorable too. I really like her sprite.
I wish we got lore about her.
Maybe there would be like a corresponding story. Well, they would have announced it, wouldn't there? Because
Sure
there was a story event when we got Neovision's Esther, but they announced that. So okay.
But that's Esther.
But Esther's a precursor. See, we kind of get stuff about precursors.
Kind of get stuff about precursors.
We kind of do, sorta. I mean, it's like the 4th time we've seen the Exterminator, so they might as well teach us something about him, right?
Yeah. I will say though, Hiroki was really, really excited about saying Esther. Like
Yes,
he sounded very excited when he said it, which was really kind of neat.
Elena too.
Yeah, that was a surprise. Yeah, cool. All right, well, let's dive into it. Speaking of all these units, so these are the units they started with the popularity poll, and these are the units that were 10 through 6. Yan, Myra, Jianwen, Qinglong, Ong, and Vilk. There's Ong, Barry. So get on your soapbox. We're gonna give you your 30 seconds.
Okay. So if we just remove from this list the people who already got Neovision's units, that takes away Elena, Esther, and Vilk. That means all of a sudden now Ong is number 4, and that makes me so much happier. He's still not number 1, but he should be. But if we really look at this list, I mean, 7 through 10, 3 of them are Lunar New Year units. I love the presence of the FanFesta units on this. I think that's absolutely fantastic. It's so dominated by damage dealers. As much as I'm pro Ong, Beryl, Myra, and Yan are... Beryl never really had a time to be great, I don't think. But Myra and Yan, at the time that they came out, were so good. And while we don't have as much of a place in the meta for them as we potentially used to, it would be so interesting to see what they could possibly do with modern kit designs, the ability of a Brave Shift, mechanics like Morale and Clash of Wills, just to see what units like that could be. But instead, we vote for Esther and Elena again, and I know these are popularity, but we all know what these popularities are for. And when we just get more and more damage dealers, I mean, every now and again you get one that lasts for a really, really long time, but like one non-damage dealer in the top 5 is so sad to me and such a waste. As much as I love LS Barris, and I loved how excited Hiroki was about Malphase, like that actually really caught me off guard. But if they just make her another hybrid unit, then as great as she is, she probably won't even be good for the event that she's released for.
I think it's really surprising that Vilk is even on this list, being less than a year old.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about that?
He definitely needs a revamp because I've said it before, he was pretty much a trap troll unit. He came out, he was hyped as the anniversary premium, super amazing, great, and he has literally been dead in the water. He was used for one clash, pretty much never seen again in top teams, and you can use him, but he's never been meta for his one clash ever. And then he was good for a while in Dark Visions, only because he's a 90 breaker. Like, he's just a slightly higher damage Venera, and that's it. And that's really unfortunate. So I'd rather they fix the original version instead of just resell him. So, Intrinsic or something could really do some Wilk good, and not just a brand new Wilk.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'd love to see them do what they did with Esther for Vilk. Kind of remod some stuff, retool. He definitely doesn't need a level 2 on his vision card and more stats, although I'd love to see it go to 150. But I think that just there's so much work that needs to be done in his very clunky kit that requires shifting from one to the other and rechargeable Magnuses, and you need this limit burst to do that thing, and taking 3 turns with great limit burst gear to even unlock a 90 break when you could just throw Venera or Lara Croft in there and do it right away is, I don't even know. It's a busted unit in a sad time.
Yeah. What about you?
That's my problem with him is for the 90% break, I'd rather just bring someone else who can just do it on the fly and bring in a separate DPS that's just much better and not even have to deal with how Vilk works.
Because
just give that unit EN chaining some way, and there you go. You're done.
Doesn't Vilk kind of require going like to turn 6 for like his optimal burst as well?
Something like that.
Not really anymore, because if you have Titus STMR, that's actually more damage than doing his personal maximum setup.
Okay.
So you would skip a stack, because his LB stacks are 75 mod, the Titus STMR is 100 mod, so it's more damage to do it at a maximum of turn 5 and skip one of his own stacks. But if you don't have that, then yes, going to turn 6 is his personal, self-independent maximum.
Okay.
Which really says everything you need to know about him in our meta when we have a 5-turn burst meta. Anybody who caps out at turn 6 is just immediately DOA.
For trials, though, he can still be fun.
Fun, sure.
Like old trials.
Yeah. Old.
I mean, I guess.
You guys. So let's really quickly hit the top 5. Do we really need another Elena? What's your guys' thoughts on that?
No.
With how bad Starlight was, bring it. I loved OG Elena. One of my favorite units they've ever released. Starlight was bad. It was a bad unit. It's just bad.
Fabz, you immediately said no.
I think I'm just petty from all the times I pulled her. But also, it's just, I mean, she's okay, but we can get another one, assuming the game is still going in a year or two. We'll do that, but I would like to see somebody else get some love.
Would you like her to be a hybrid or a single, like a, attacker magic type unit?
I love the idea of hybrids. I've always tried to use them whenever they're out, but they just tend to not work out well for the most part. So would I like her to be hybrid? Yeah, but I'm afraid of what they'll do to her if they do.
What do you think, EmK?
I don't know, another hybrid. Malphasy's gonna come soon, so another Elena? No, that's gonna be a hard pass for me, Bob.
Okay. What were you gonna say, Sinzar?
I just said, please never again a hybrid. There's no upside to a hybrid. So at the absolute peak, the best you can say about a hybrid is they're equal to a non-hybrid. But there's so many handicaps they have to go through. They're harder to gear. If the boss has even slightly unbalanced stats, which many bosses do, they're all of a sudden just straight up worse than going to a pure damage dealer. And things like the current Dark Visions, the sub bosses, they always take a penalty of half. So this hybrid's just like I said, there is no perk to being a hybrid, but there's so many downsides to being a hybrid. So just please never again make a hybrid.
Gearing notwithstanding. Yeah.
That said, if we want to go back to being in favor of one form attack, one form magic, like the previous structure is, that's okay. As long as you have a good card for it. I mean, that's basically the perfect flexible damage dealer that we could ever have. If we could get more of those, that would be great. And those are opportunities for former hybrid units like Malphasy could do. But if they go strictly to that hybrid structure, I mean, there's no place anymore.
Yeah. Do we need another Esther?
No.
Yeah, I like the one we have.
I would rather they just take the one we have and make her LB field party side only and, whatever.
That's the only problem. If the field would just be one-sided, she'd be fixed for me.
Which we could get in an EX skill. Give her that, give her an intrinsic with a stat buff and a modifier boost for her limit burst, and I'm good to go. Maybe better mitigations on Omni cover.
Yeah, the Esther we have, her damage is pretty terrible these days, but she's still one of the best Omni cover tanks out there. So she's fine. We don't really need a new one. She's still doing good as it is, as a tank.
Yep. Probably
Her brakes aren't even that bad either. I mean,
not terrible, no. And she's got some racial mitigations and stuff. Yep. Nice killers. Useful unit.
Lightning imbue.
Barrel. Sinzar, you once said that Barrel was one of your favorites and be one of your picks. Were you voting for Barrel?
I didn't vote, period, just because I felt like my vote just wouldn't matter. I honestly thought Sylvie would get all the votes. I am shocked she didn't even make the top 10. I am blown away by that. But if I was going to vote, it would have been either Beryl or Aang. If I could have split the votes, it would have been half and half. But yes, I always loved the idea of Beryl. And if you remember my really old videos, people that used to watch them, I would take Beryl and use him even if he wasn't like the best picks, because I liked him so much. And he fell off very quickly because he just, honestly speaking, he wasn't that good, even though I loved him. And I would love for him to be good, and it'd be awesome if he was.
Yep.
Beryl seems like it was always designed to be a Neovision. Like the idea of a 7-star unit having 2 forms, that's just brave shifting now. So I think we could actually get a more realized version of what Beryl was supposed to be with a true brave shift.
That'd be cool. I'd like to see that.
Would be very.
Yeah, I probably don't have room to talk since I didn't vote, but man, I would have loved for Lord Beryl to win this. I was like Sinzar. Every chance I got, I was throwing Beryl on the party just because it was Beryl. I liked the unit, but as we've all been saying, he wasn't that great. So you were kind of just forcing him into teams. But I just thought he was a cool unit.
Very cool. Very cool. Then we got Ellis, who I don't think I've ever used a single time.
Once, not one time.
Her TMR, woo!
Did we even use that?
Isn't that the?
It's a human killer, isn't it?
Oh no, I'm thinking. Does she? No, she doesn't.
Are you
That's
just
the red orb.
Like 25% killers and like 50% with a katana or something.
Yes. Okay. Well, I liked that. And she's a vampire, isn't she? And so
Yes.
I think that.
Basically,
I'm a fan. That's all.
a Neovision version of her will just feel like Katana Dark Cecil. It's just gonna be a typical Dark Knight type blood build. Maybe she'll get some absorptive capabilities, but I don't know. I'll be interested to see. Like I said, it's cool to see FanFesta units up here.
Yeah, she never had a chance, really. Her
Never.
original version was straight garbage, and then when all the FanFest units got complete revamps, she got one as well. And even then, it was still just basically unusable. And she literally never had a single moment to ever be used.
Because she was in the same one as like Cersei and Malphasy, right?
Yep.
And those two's upgrades were phenomenal at the time. Myra too. Myra is one of the best units from the 7-star era to me. She was so universally good. Her rotation was fixed. You could use her in every team forever because she would heal and buff at the same time, which at the time, roll compression like that was amazing, especially next to Sylvie. Ellis never had a shot.
And didn't Myra also have some pretty early like fire imbue and light imbue? Am I remembering that right?
She had fire and light something.
Yeah, I forgot what it was.
Me too. What she did have before they nerfed it was her LB was the only thing that cured zombie, and then all of a sudden one day it didn't.
And there's Barry's other soapbox.
That's fine. That's just some fidelity for Flip if he's listening.
Yeah, he'll listen, I hope. Last but not least, Malphasy. So I think she's a really cool unit, and back in the day when I had an alt, she was carrying my team, but she's not like my favorite unit. What do you guys think?
I use her all the time. This is why I'm happy she won. I don't know what they could do to kind of keep her, keep the flavor there, but obviously make it better for today. But I don't know. I love this unit when she was first out.
Her STMR was the hottest thing for like six months.
Yes.
Even
right up there with upgrade package.
Even in the Neovisions era, people were still using it, like on Luna Freya, back when you were still dual wielding. It was a solid STMR.
And
She does have crows. I hope that when they give her an NV, I hope they do her more justice than they did with Lilith, and at least let her keep like a Divine Ruination counter for Arena, because that was one of the things that made her so fun in a lot of ways. Is you could bring a dupe, or just load up your party in Arena. And back in the 7-star days, that was terrifying, because if your mechanics weren't perfect, you just lost. And I miss the days of counter tanking.
Good counter tanking.
Not Chow counter tanking.
Right. So one thing I want to throw out there is that there are so many of these units that are FanFesta units, and I don't know if it's just because I've been on a FanFesta push, but I feel like they were talking a lot about the fact that these were FanFesta units and these were fan design units, and that, you know, people voted on, and these have been fan supported and fan loved, and they just kept on talking about FanFesta. And so that is definitely true, and I think it's a great opportunity to throw out there that they should have another FanFesta, because that's where these units came from, and there's a lot of people who have really fun stories about meeting the creators of them at the FanFestas and things like that, and I think that would be a really neat opportunity. You know, they kept talking about how there's, you know, 48, was it billion or million downloads, 48 million downloads, something like that, and like, these are all players who are playing the game. Let's get together, you know, safely. Let's get together safely. But, you know, FanFesta 2023, make it happen.
It's fine. I agree. I'd love it.
If I got to be with Sinzar, I would meet him unsafely.
It'd be fun.
It would be.
Oh.
You're not even that far, bud.
All right. So that was the popularity poll. We've already spent a lot of time talking about it, so we're going to dive into the rest of the stuff. We have a new featured unit, Master Machinist Abigail, and she, from her tags, is a magic tank with the buffer tag and the debuffer tag, which
love that.
I think it's fantastic.
I love that. Especially if she has the fire tag too, man. That's so good.
The more tags, the better.
Yes.
That allows you to use the, you know, restricted gear.
Yes.
Because she can wear like is the Ihana is that a healer tag, or is that a
that is healer. That's healer only.
So healer only. So she can't do that one, but she can wear all the breaker materials. She can wear the spear from Hyunkel, because it's a magic tank only. Like, there's just a lot of options.
She can use the premium Dark Fina chest piece because she's a buffer.
Yep. Yep. Which is so good. She'll be able to use every single card that has FFBE tags or breaker or tank. I mean, there's so much goodness to that, just without anything to do with her kit, and it almost is enough to make you forget that she's an SLB unit.
And as EmK said, the sprite is really adorable.
Yes.
What do you love about the sprite, EmK?
Well, I took a few screenshots of it when they first were showing it, and there's she has this cool like a force field thing that she puts up like a barrier, and then another skill where it's like she has this robotic looking desktop in front of her, and she's like doing stuff, you know, putting up her fields and protecting the team, and it's just so awesome. So I'm excited. I think it. Yeah, I'll shut up.
No,
that's fantastic. That's great.
And unfortunately, on global, they just show still shots. But during the global stream, I also watched the Chinese stream at the same time, and the Chinese stream showed the animated stuff of the unit and the vision card and all, and the animations look pretty good as well.
Yeah, they did show that on
they showed a little bit, yeah.
I saw her little robot thing shoot a laser beam. I'm into that.
Yes, so cute.
That feels like the perfect reason that this unit should have tag skills.
Tags and tags for days. Speaking of stuff that this unit comes with, we've got an STMR that is a one-handed staff. It looks like magic tank units only. HP 1000, Spirit 230, boosts resistance to almost everything. It's missing light and dark to 30%, and also gives her some abilities that are unique to her. What do we think about it? We got another STMR weapon.
Yeah.
At least it's only one-handed.
It's really good. It's definitely it seems to be clearly the best magic tank weapon in the game now. Assuming you don't need resistances, the Abba staff is better if you need resist. But for pure bulk, I'm pretty sure this is just the best.
Yeah, I mean it's for her 1,230 spirit, which is nutty.
100% true double hand spirit's fantastic too on a weapon like that.
Yes.
That's magnificent. It depends on how much she has intrinsically, but you know, if you can get her so that you don't even necessarily need Mermaid Freezia's STMR to kill a materia slot, then I have no qualms.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's gonna have at least 100, and then you've got 100 here, 100 from her base kit, and then 200 from the Midnight Revelers card, which is just way better than her card. So
much better. Oh my god.
Sometimes I kick myself for not having that card.
Oh, pain.
Sometimes, not all the time, just sometimes. Her TMR is an accessory defense 40, spirit 50, same resistances, only at 20%, and gives her some bonus stuff. Morale-based barriers for the caster, restores HP and MP for all allies, and fills morale gauge every turn.
That's cool.
Sad I can't give that to other people.
Yeah, for her it's really good. For everyone else, I'd rather use Awakened Rain's Metal. More resist.
More resistances for sure.
Or Garland's Cloak, or lots of other stuff.
What do you think about these, Fabz?
I didn't really have a whole lot to say that you guys weren't already saying. The staff, of course, I would like it to be in universal, but I understand why they were limited because of what it offers. And again, I was watching the game at the time, so sorry I didn't notice it before, but I didn't know that the morale part was Abigail only. So I was thinking, shoot, I can stack up on a bunch of these and be good to go. But that kind of killed that idea. So I'm not really too interested in her stuff, to be honest.
That's okay. I think you and Barry had the same idea.
Yeah, I just don't read apparently, so good for me.
Hashtag read the news. Okay, good stuff. Speaking of this unit, so here's what her SLB does. Prodigiously precise prediction. Reduce resistance to short swords, large swords, katanas, staves, rods, bows, axes, hammers, spears, instruments, whips, throwing weapons, guns, maces, fists for all enemies. So it hits everybody. And reduces damage taken by beasts, humans, insects, and aquatics. Do we love this or do we not love this?
Wish there was a stat buff component, but otherwise it's great.
We do know, based on the stream, they did say it's 85 mitigation, so I love it. Love it.
Oh, so that's where the mitigations are?
Yeah, it basically seems to be like Magical Runda.
Oh, heard. I'm in. That's super dope. It's
Okay.
EX3 day one.
Yep. Sounds really good. I'm really curious to know what the percentage down on the Imperil is. But either way, I mean, being able to just flexibly bring pretty much everybody because of this is useful, especially if you don't have somebody like 2B, you know.
It is good, and if it's like 40%, obviously it's amazing. But I'm not as excited about that anymore because like when's the last time we've had a unit that didn't bring their own weapon in barrel? Like they just don't exist anymore. So I mean it's good to have. Like, of course, give it to me, but I wouldn't use that as like a selling point unless it's higher than the standard. Then it's great.
All right.
Yeah.
So the other thing they showed was her featured abilities, her EX abilities. We've got Smokescreen Machine, which is a funny thing to say. Defense and Spirit by 500 for her. Chance of inflicting blind on all enemies and fills morale gauge every turn. So we've got an autofill morale, pretty cool. We've also got chance of temporarily guarding all allies against damage and reduce damage taken for caster. Does not say what type of damage, just says against damage.
That actually means Omnicover.
There you go.
So that sounds like Omnicover to me.
Yep. That's what I wanted to make sure we knew about. And then the other one, Fill Morale Gauge. All allies can evade physical attacks 2 times and activates a morale-based barrier for all allies and activates contingency plans. So it's kind of like a rolling buff kind of a thing that they talked about.
Which could be good.
So the Omnicover being a 4-turn cooldown is great because the standard is 5. You know, Cecil, Lilith, Jekt, etc. It's all a 5-turn cooldown. So 4-turn cooldown is way better. It's obviously not as good as something like on demand, like Chow or Esther, but it's still better than the standard, which I'm happy about. What I am very unhappy about is that blind. I cannot stand uncontrollable status effects because there's so many bosses. Like, assuming a boss is weak to blind and you want to use blind strategically. Well, if she auto-casts at every turn, then that either puts the blind on immunity, because a lot of bosses go immune after being applied once, or it'll be blind when you don't want it to be, meaning it can potentially fade on the turn you need the blind, because status effects are only guaranteed to stay up for 1 turn. After the first turn, they have a percentage chance to wear off. And I just never, like, I hate it on Kresnik. It caused major problems on the castle boss, because Kresnik would disease on the wrong turn. You'd have to do stupidity like target your own team so you don't auto-cast on the boss. And I would have hoped they'd learned their lesson to not put status effects on an uncontrollable auto-cast, but here we are.
There we are. EmK, it sounded like you had something you wanted to say.
I'm just gonna choke on my spit, actually.
Oh, good.
No. My question was actually what was the turns before you could use the cooldown, but Sinzar just said 4 turns. I just couldn't read the stuff because it's too tiny on my screen right now. That's all.
Okay.
So I was.
Fabz, did you have something?
No, I just it's one of those things I overlooked earlier too. Inflicting the blind, I had the same issue with that too. I just don't like auto elements. It just causes more problems than it helps, to be honest.
Yeah, not to mention that most things are just immune to everything, but not always, and only when it matters does it matter, you know.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure they're gonna end up putting out some kind of boss to punish us for bringing her to a fight where if you blind it, it's gonna get a ridiculous amount of counters and self buffs and blah blah blah. Absolutely. It's just gonna end up being a pain down the road somewhere.
Yeah, well,
it sounds like a built-in contingency to make her obsolete.
Could be.
They are notoriously good at fixing problems that they create. So, all right. So
only if it benefits the players.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Here's the vision card. We've got, so we're getting this at EX1 and EX3, which means she's not premium. And HP 500 and Spirit 115 at level 10. Boost resistances to all her normal stuff, and also light and dark to 20%. Boost HP and Spirit by 30%, and then at level 10, HP 1000, Spirit 500 for FFBE units.
Did they forget Sylvie's card exists?
What'd you say, Fabz?
They forget.
I said, did they forget Sylvie's card exists?
Oh,
definitely forgot.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
and that you can exchange for them ad infinitum.
This one doesn't give morale every turn, though.
Even worse.
I know.
Yeah.
This card is pretty bad. You're either going to give her Sylvie's card, or you're going to give her the Midnight Reveler's card if you need more bulk.
Yep.
Or the power cut card's even better than this too.
They even give him Chow's card. I mean,
they did mention that it has a mirror ball on it.
What's that mean?
Like a disco ball.
A little CP part. Yeah. She runs up on the top of that little tower, and then all of a sudden it's a flashback to the 70s for a second, and the card resets. So.
I do love these
clearly
card animations.
That's got to be where the auto blind comes from.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yep.
Clever. Look at you guys being smarter than me. I love it. All right, so there's the vision card. We're moving on. Speaking of, here's Clash of Wills. This is where the unit is most likely going to shine. Oh, you know what? It's a moth. And moths like light.
It's a moth with a shark tail.
That makes sense.
Okay. So you got
to get a moth and to bring out a big flashy disco ball.
Yeah.
Yes.
That makes a surprising amount of sense. We already kind of knew from the monthly bulletin it's an aquatic insect, weak to fire, ice, and light. So that's exciting. And its name is Salachimov? Maybe? I don't know. But they said it was.
Looks pretty interesting. Pretty cute.
It's adorable.
It is cute.
It's not as cute as the Raxolotl.
Well, nothing will top the axolotl.
Yeah, still very cute though. And
you gotta remember the cutest ones are the most dangerous ones because we had the Derpy Dragon Aldebaran.
Derpy Dragon, man.
My favorite. My favorite. I loved that.
It was definitely the best sprite, but not the worst boss, because I think the Ginger Buff Man is now the worst one. But
yeah. I know. It's okay though. This one is only our mid-season, so it's less cupcakey.
Less cupcake, a little more interesting.
You might say it's a box of chocolates because it's in February.
And you never know what you're gonna get.
Well, apparently I'm gonna get a moth with a shark tail.
Apparently. Or maybe you're gonna get a hare instead because there was a typo on their slide, right?
It's true.
Fantastic.
Oh, I just noticed that. Wow.
Whoops. But it uses magic attacks, so obviously our new magic tank friend is going to be useful. It inflicts paralysis and confusion, so it's got Stun Spore and Confuse Ray. And it deals high amounts of HP percentage damage and fixed damage.
And it grows, remember.
They did say that it grows.
Every turn or something. If you don't attack it. If you attack it, I think that you're okay.
I do love though that they're putting on the information right here. Try using Master Machinist Abigail. It's like hint, hint. Here it is. Here's your tip.
And you missed the most important part.
Yep.
That says don't bring Chow.
Don't bring Chow because it deals damage to non-human units, and no Runda and no Lilith either.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you would, because it's magic damage, right?
Yeah.
But there it is. Kind of cool. Now, I'm going to go back to this one. So this is just like an opinion of mine. So we know it's an aquatic insect and its weaknesses is fire, ice, and light. And I kind of said when we got the monthly bulletin that whatever the unit that was going to come out was going to have to be really, really either really, really strong to justify pulling a damage dealing unit, because we already have tons and tons of damage dealers and units that can buff killers against these races. Or have to be a support unit, or have to be something else like a tank or something like that. And so here we are, thank goodness, because, you know, like Chizuru, Roberta, Sylvie, all give really nice stuff against either insects or aquatics. So what do you guys think? Do you think that just from what we've seen so far that the unit will kind of like stand out and be useful for this Clash of Wills?
Sure. It's a tank. Tanks are cool. Tanks work in Clash of Wills, why not?
Based on the preview, deals extra damage. It is a magic tank, and knowing how for the past 6 months every boss is very, very, very blatantly designed to push the new unit. So because this is a magic tank, it is our only magic tank with 85 mitigations. I'm going to say this boss will be lethal, like dealing excessive amounts of damage. So it's probably going to be easy to damage cap, hard to survive, is my prediction. And if you don't have the new unit who brings 85 to both mitigations and the racial mitigations, I was looking up racial mitigations for this boss. There's basically nothing. So General Celeste can do aquatic mitigation, but you're not taking her because she's made of paper. So there's like no good racial mitigations. You know, you can do Roberta for 30%, but I'm sure this tank is going to have a lot higher than 30. So it seems like it'll be tricky to survive without Abigail.
Yeah.
I suspect the new tank's one turn fire absorb is probably going to be pertinent too, depending on thresholds.
They did also mention that skill,
I'm just curious about the high amounts of HP percentage damage, because that's going to be that's part of the push for getting Abigail's 85% mitigation, specifically for that in the fixed damage. Because, I mean, if you need 85% mitigation, you could just bring Runda anyway. But that's why they made the non-human units thing, to get Runda out of the picture. So I'm pretty sure that fixed damage is what they're hoping will push us to pull her.
Now, there's also another consideration to worry about. Now, as far as the tanking stuff, you know, we discussed it. What about the rest of the party? Let's say the boss does damage that either bypasses cover or there's 2 types of damage, you can only cover 1 type, and your party is going to take some damage. How much extra damage to non-humans are we dealing? Are we going to be unable to use the near units, Tsukiko, Lilith as a damage dealer? Like, we have a bunch of DPS that are non-humans that are meta clash units. Both the near units are machines, Tsukiko's a fairy, Lilith's a demon. So is like the cleaving attacks of this boss going to shut them out as well or not? So that is to be determined as well.
Yeah, I think you just said in a nice way, if we know that we're already trying to push a fire unit, it sounds like part 2 of Did You Pull Cleome?
She is actually not on my pre-planned team. I've already got a team built, saved, loaded up in the game, ready to go. If Abigail's data mine turns out to be great, I'll swap out Cecil for Abigail, because currently Cecil's on the party. But Cleome is not. At least not yet.
If you have to go fire team, I mean, there's worse options.
Yeah, she's a good damage area. If I do swap the fire, she'll come. But currently, the team is planned to be light element because of Nier. Nier's got the 150 amps and just high damage period.
Return Fina.
Well, mentioning the uncoverable stuff, it's probably going to be her other thing to try to sell us on it, is that cooldown with the Mirage in it. I wonder if it's going to work like Songstress Yuna's, where it'll refresh the Mirage every turn too.
That would be really cool and amazing. I love that on units like her, and then the 7-star Vaughn had that. I used to love that back in the 7-star days, because it's auto casting and putting up Mirage every turn without wasting your action is amazing.
Yeah.
That would only be unfortunate if it auto cast and then there was always every turn a preemptive dispel.
Oh, ouch.
Which I can also see coming, because again, you create units with planned obsolescence to get yourself fail-safe, so that when they have too much lasting power and you need to sell a new unit, you just exploit their mechanic that you built in for that reason.
Barry, stop giving them ideas.
Hey man, you act like we haven't seen this before.
No, I know.
Everybody can follow Apple's product model.
Oh goodness! Speaking of Clash of Wills, we got last month we got upgrades for the Celestite robes, and this month we're getting upgrades for the Celestite crown. We got the Paladins being upgraded to more HP, more MP, better stats on everything, with just boosted spirit and defense up to 750, and lets you escape death 1 time when your HP is above a certain point. So guts on a free item that you can craft. Super cool.
I love that.
And didn't you say just recently, EmK, that you just switched from the Paladins to Dancers?
Yes. I don't want to talk about it, okay? There was some evasion thing, and I don't know.
Wait,
sometimes I don't like to use
Dancers?
Sometimes I don't like to use the best item in the game too. It's okay.
I thought Dancers was better than Paladins, and I'm pretty sure
Dancers
I learned
is
that
better
from
than
one of
Paladin.
It is.
Dancer is better than Paladin.
That's what I switched. I switched it from Paladins to Dancers.
Yeah,
right. I can't believe you had anything other than Dancers.
Because so early Clash of Wills days, once upon a time, I didn't know what any of this stuff was. I just kept buying it, and anyway, I'm way behind a lot of you guys. Okay. So I'm fixing
Let this be a lesson to you all on frivolous spending.
But if you had left your Paladin's Tenet there, you would now be getting a big boost to your defense and spirit and a guts, which is really cool.
I know. I have other guts, though. It's fine.
You'd probably have to buy the upgrade. But
yes,
true. That's
a thing. Dancers is getting upgraded, though, to now give a defense and spirit of 50%, which is really cool. And yeah, just making it overall better with more stats and everything.
Giving it up to 120 defense from 80 is great too.
This is good news for everybody not named EmK Ultra.
Yes.
Well, she's got the Dancers now. We've got her on the path of salvation.
Can we just cut this part out in post, please?
It's all out of love. It's all out of love.
I love you guys too.
And then the other one is the Prophets. Now, I saw when they showed the Prophets, everybody was getting very, very excited in chat about using this on Meteor users.
Okay.
Not
all right.
Really, because
come on, guys.
Yeah, you're losing the rulers, and that means you're losing over 1,000 magic. that would require math to really answer accurately if it's worth it or not. But not only are you losing the dancers, you're losing 1,000 magic off the ruler's hat, or the ruler's helm. Now, if the unit can't wear helms, for example, Onion Knight, maybe.
It is. Oh, go ahead, Fabz.
What's that?
Oh, go ahead. Whoever was talking. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah. I was just saying. Maybe if you're, big whale territory, double dazzling demoness, then sure, your second meteor user might love this, love this.
I promise I still won't do that. Because I will never spend the investment of Xenostones to create this from anything else.
Still though, this is a nice collection of abilities. I don't think it's as good as Dancers, but MP 500, MP 50%, reduce cost by 40%, restore 5% MP every turn, and all these immunities to all this stuff. It's a nice collection of stuff. It's just not as good as Dancers.
I love it, and I wish it was its own separate item.
Yes, please.
It is very good, and that's really what it comes down to, is the trade-off. This is absolutely god tier amazing item. Would love to make it, love to buy it, love to pull for it, but am I going to cash in my dancers for this?
No.
Unlikely.
Not for what you would have to then do to re-simulate 100% draw attack and 20% physical evasion on one item. The slot efficiency and the fact that is always something that is useful in some way. This is nice, this is great, but it's not enough to justify losing the slot efficiency of what I really will say is the best item in the game, in the Dancers item.
Still though, I feel like they're trying to make some of these special final copies or final upgrades, or they're trying to make them better.
Definitely.
And
they did. This is incredible.
Yeah.
This is an incredible piece of gear. I just don't ever see, especially with them giving things another upgrade, which is much more expensive, I don't ever see justifying the cost of upgrading this for the sake of losing out on what you already have. It would be like going back now to the one-handed Dark Visions weapons and upgrading all of them to max, knowing that there's more two-handeds coming out.
Yeah. We don't talk about that. We don't talk about one-handed DV weapons either. Oh, goodness. All right. If we only knew. So we are getting some other events too. So they showed the Fighting Back Memories thing, which we've been doing for a couple of weeks here. That they are doing another set of things, Fighting Back Memories 2, which is gonna be going on for a couple of weeks. More Lapis, more Dark Matter, and Obnixis drops.
I believe Justin called them obnoxious
Justin
drops.
did call these obnoxious drops, or Tony did. Somebody called them obnoxious drops.
I think, yeah. Sorry.
Somebody did.
Thought it was fun.
It was funny.
To be fair, I actually call him that too.
I know.
Yeah.
I was gonna leave it alone.
See, but the thing of it is,
obnoxious.
People in your community have come to wait for you to say things in a goofy way, though. So.
Yeah, it's true. It's absolutely true.
Cool though.
I wasn't gonna say that.
I'll do it. I'll take a shot. I just think it's great that they're giving more of the drops out in general, just because if you don't buy the bundles and if you don't happen to be able to do well enough to do rank 1, it can be kind of hard to nab these. So it's good that they're giving players options for getting them. I'm excited for it.
For sure. It's a shame that they're doing it on the drops, which I will consider, at least in my opinion, I think the materia to exchange for in this quarter are, to me, the worst that we've had. Not to say that Elemental Resist isn't great, but I think compared to the diversity of the killers that we've had in the past, or being able to equip light armor or helms, which is just incredible and something that we've never had. I think this is the worst batch of materia to exchange for. Now, that being said, I think the units are pretty okay. They just don't apply to me. I hope this is a precedent for something that they will consider doing in the future. But I just find it a bit of a shame that they're doing it for this particular batch of exchangeable items.
Mm-hmm. Okay. They also so then they got into Q&A. So the first Q&A question they said is, will there be a skip button for future events and quests or an auto repeat feature in order to lessen the grind that is similar to War of the Visions? And their answer was, the team does have plans moving forward to introduce that allows players to set the number of times to grind for quests. They'll also provide an update regarding the timeline for this in a future for this feature once it's been determined. So let me ask you guys, do you really care about auto grind, auto skip? Like, for the four of you, does that really matter to you?
No.
Not really.
It does. I use it all the time in JP. It's useful for the farm events. So, for example, we just got Kelger, the Final Fantasy V guy, that I think it takes 40 runs to get into EX3. So that is what you use it for. And that's pretty much it. But yeah, it's for the free unit. And then if you want to finish the Mog King on day one, you turn it on, you let it run for 10 minutes, and then you're done. You know, that's what it's for. I kind of wish they didn't waste a question on this, because, like, unless you've had your head in the sand, everyone knew this was a JP feature and that we're actually already overdue for it. It came out with Bart's and JP, so we're actually already quite late for it on global, like very late. So I guess it's good that confirmation that it's still coming, not just canceled entirely. But, like, did anyone really ask this question, or is this just like filler?
I'm pretty sure people asked, and like you said, they knew it was coming anyway, so it was like an easy throwaway. Like, you know, we're doing this anyway, so here, let's just throw this out there and give it to them.
It gave them an opportunity to say yes.
And sometimes those are good.
Yes.
As far as how I feel about it, I mean, I've never really felt like I needed it. I'm one of those sweaty, get the event done in one day kind of people. So I didn't really feel like it took an ungodly amount of time, but I can see the time saved for this.
Sure. I mean, it's one of those things. It doesn't hurt to have it, but do I care? Is this going to make me want to play the game more? No, it just means I get to be done with it sooner and then go do other things I need to do.
That's exactly how I feel about it, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I played War of the Visions for a little while, and it was neat that it had it. You know, you could set it just to run overnight and, like, wake up in the morning and have all the stuff to upgrade your character's classes and stuff. But, like, I don't know. I just don't feel like I need it for FFBE, just because the battle takes 2 seconds, you know, for stuff. Whereas War of the Visions, it took, you know, 5-10 minutes to run something. So I don't know. I could see it going both ways.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, the one flaw in this is the thing that needs it the most is raid orbs, and you can't use it on the raids.
Oh,
bummer.
Yeah, that's so mind-boggling why they don't allow you to do it for raids.
Probably because it's competitive, technically.
I guess.
So, but they let us do it for Arena, which is the same orb system. Just let us run one raid, let it count for all 5 orbs, multiply my stuff by 5, and let me go on with my day.
Would be great.
It would be great.
Very cool, yeah. The other question that they dropped, there seemed to be a lot of cheaters in Dark Vision. Will the team do something about them? Oh my gosh. The answer is the team always conducts an investigation prior to issuing rewards and imposing penalties on anyone who cheat. Please report to our support team if you find any suspected cheaters.
This was not the Dark Visions question we were expecting.
Right.
It really was not the Dark Visions question we were expecting. What Dark Visions question were you expecting, by the way?
Something about Riku.
Yeah. There was a lot of Riku chatter in the chat. Some people saying, like, well, but we'll get to that in a second. We are going to talk about Dark Visions briefly. I don't even know how people bother to cheat. I don't want to know how people bother to cheat. I just think it's funny that people bother to cheat, because, like, I don't know, they remove it and, you know, everybody's rank jumps up 400 points and, you know, whatever. But, like, yeah, don't they get disqualified for the next one if they get caught cheating?
Really, just a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the, well, that's what I wanted to talk about, the way to do it. I am familiar with the way they do it. It's people, okay, it's not that they don't know it, they know what they're doing, but Okay, so people that do it, they can't turn it off when they play the game. So they get it to like OTK trials and stuff, and to my knowledge, when they're playing with that client, you can't turn it off. So like they go into dark visions, they touch the boss, it deals 99 billion damage, and it hits the damage cap, and that's why. So it's not so much that they're choosing to cheat in dark vision, they're just choosing to turn on God mode in the game, period. And yeah, and what I don't understand is how is this not fixed 7 years later? Like, why haven't they patched this out of the games where this isn't a viable option? They need to fix the core issue of the way people cheat instead of just banning 100 people per month. Just get your team of engineers or whatever that work on the game code and fix it at its core. That's what they need to do.
Yep.
So that people can't cheat.
Yeah. I mean, so lots and lots of competitive games have, anti-cheating options that like if you're playing a PC game that has any kind of competitive element, if you're trying to run even just a background music player, it'll catch it and like not even let you load the game. So like there's definitely ways to try and catch that stuff.
I just, for fun, went and looked and pulled up. Currently, I'm ranked 68 in Dark Visions. Before me, of the 67 people in front of me, there are currently 32 obvious cheaters.
Well, please report that to the support team.
Astounding.
Yeah, if you see something, say
They can't
something.
figure out if they can't figure out that a rank 115 who has Rain set as their favorite unit cheated to cap the Dark Vision score. I can't help them. Or this rank 77. Ooh, man, that one's really tempting to consider. It's just come on. If realistically, and I'm not, I suppose it's possible. Now, granted, with the way that you can jack up experience in the game, I think you could start the game right now and probably by the end of next event cycle, so the end of the first week of Clash of Wills, you could probably be in the rank 150s. If you went crazy hard and pulled like crazy, spent a ton of money, I suppose it's possible that you could put a team together that could do some of these scores from pretty much where what I would say is the first real player, you could potentially finish around there. But realistically speaking, the amount of money that you would have to spend to do enough summons to do that is so insurmountably astounding. And unless somebody is making like a Smurf account just to do it for fun, I don't see that even being remotely possible, considering right now you need such a very specific build setup that has a limited time piece of gear that you just can't even get anymore. I don't know. I'd love to give people the benefit of the doubt, but probably not.
Mm-hmm. Fabz, do you dabble in Dark Visions? Do you care about Dark Visions?
I'm hot and cold with it sometimes. It depends on what the boss is, what the weaknesses are, and what I have. If I don't see any way I can remotely compete, I don't bother. Mm-hmm. If I feel like I can come up with something that might keep me competitive, then I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
But like this one, for example, of course I'm doing it because there's only one team that's viable to keep you in the top. So I just figured I'd try it just to see where Lady Luck puts me in the charts.
Yeah. I do not like this one, and I was gonna reserve talking about this for later, but now it kind of came up organically, and we're gonna talk about but I just feel like this one, and from what I understand, the next one is gonna be very similar. Like, it's just boring. There's no, it's not exciting to just see how many levels of RNG can we force into a single turn, just to do one rank better or one chain better or one counter better. Like, to me, it's not exciting in the slightest. And I've got most of the units that everyone's using, but like, it's just not interesting.
Yeah, I think this one in particular is kind of boring because, like, for all the reasons you named, I just kind of like that pretty much anyone can get a shot, but this the gun just isn't isn't my cup of tea.
Yeah.
The first day I went and, figured out the Riku stuff, posted the video, tried it, ran it a few times. I got like a 32 billion after about, 20 minutes of rolling it. I haven't fooled with it for a week and a half, and I went back, it was Friday evening. I figured I'd do some more rolls. I went in there, I ran the fight literally 3 times. I'm like, this is just boring. And I walked away, like, whatever. My 32 billion from last week, if that's not good enough, too bad for me this month.
Yeah.
After a while, you just don't care because there's so much of it that you can't control. And like, if there was something I could do to potentially force the boss to use the big bombs and the flame grenades and to maybe maximize the number of times that I was getting hit in order to trigger the counters, that would be great. And then at that point, you just deal with is your counter proc triggering, which would let you fiddle with your gear a little bit, maybe swap a Blizzard Orb out for an orange jug just to give her more stats, roll more damage, fine. But the fact that there is nothing that you can do that will really increase the likelihood of you getting what you need anyway. I mean, you've seen it yourself, Sins. There's so many people in the Discord who have the gear for it, but they can't roll higher than a 77 hit chain on the counters because that's just the RNG that they're rolling.
Yeah,
and there's no difference between them or us, except that they happen to have gotten worse RNG this time.
Exactly. So the score, and there is just the complete randomness to it. Like, for example, someone that, has good gear, follows a guide, goes in there, their literal first try could be a 250 chain and they hit, 49 billion, they're rank 1. It can happen because it's just pure RNG. But realistically, the only thing separating the ranks is the time spent. One of the top score players, I'm not sure if they want me to call out their name, but they said, I'm going to quote them what they said. They said they were talking about doing a clear on either turn 5 or turn 8. Then they said they went to a turn 3 clear and they kept the turn 3 clear, even if it's not quite as good, because the best strategy to win at a slot machine is to put in more quarters. So just running it over and over, and the top ranked people are the people that have a macro running this boss 24 hours a day, all week long, and they run it thousands and thousands of times. Some people have been posting their kill count, but you can go into the bestiary and see how many times you've killed the boss. Some people are at 5,000 or more kills on kills on the wall, because it's just a macro. The macro just runs 24 hours a day, and it refills lapis, and it just keeps going. It runs the fight all day long, and they just keep going until they get a high roll, and the highest roll is going to be the rank 1, and that is just so dumb.
Yep. MK, how do you feel about it?
You guys are bumming me out, bro.
Have you done it yet?
Yes, but I'm certainly not rank anywhere near any of you guys, but my favorite part is the first couple days before the last 2 big bosses or 4 bosses drop, because then I'm rank 1 and I feel really good, and then for another week and a half I'm just really sad, and this just makes me sad.
There you go, Gumi. Give us more Visions World with shared rank 1, or you will make MK sad.
Yeah, stop making MK sad.
Thank you.
Hey, just remember, most of the people that are way high at the charts are spending a ton of money to get there. So, hey, you save a few bucks, it's all good.
There you go.
Sure,
No
I don't
comment.
know what you're talking about, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. It is 100% all skill and talent. My apologies.
So
I just get really lucky with tickets.
to actually touch on that, if we wanted to discuss it, something else, a feedback I've seen from some of the top players, not all of them, but a few of them have mentioned that, and this might even be controversial to mention, but they've mentioned that they are unhappy that, how can I phrase it, that lower spenders are competing with the people that spend the most, because the barrier to entry here is literally just EX3 Riku. Almost nothing else matters. Everything else is things that anyone that's been playing for 6 months has, like some Clash of Wills gear and some very generic STMRs. The only thing that matters is, do you own EX3 Riku? And that's really it. So people that spend whatever per week and get EX3 of every single unit, and that usually matters in Dark Visions, like, the old Dark Visions, whoever had EX3 Nelica, ranked high that Dark Vision. Everyone else, no one pulled for her because she wasn't a valuable pull, and they couldn't rank. This month, all you need is Riku. So someone that just doesn't even care about Dark Visions can get, rank 1 in theory. How do you feel about that? Like, Barry, do you think does that bother you, that someone that can, with very minimal monetary investment, can do as well as someone that is keeping the game alive, so to speak?
Man, all right. So that's really complicated. I don't hate it, because the way I see it is investing money into this game, which will one day end and you have absolutely no return on investment other than entertainment value, is a choice that me and others are making. I don't necessarily feel like ranking in an event like this should be something I am entitled to strictly because myself and others are contributing to the game's ability to maintain function still. That being said, I think that this kind of opens up into a much larger issue as far as the people who are willing to invest money in the game are being very much neglected, in that the bundle structure has gotten tremendously worse over the last, I would say, a year and a half. The EX rewards haven't been touched in 3 or 4 years, it feels like at this point. And there's just, there's not enough incentive to keep people going. And while changing the bundle structure back to how it used to be, where we would get more lapis per dollar spent, and you would then get more rewards on the back end, make bundles actually worth spending on. Increasing EX rewards would be great. What that would do is that would then give the people who are financially able to contribute to the game and buy more bundles, give them more opportunities to get more things to then give them higher edges. I think this particular event, I think every now and again giving the freer to play or low grade dolphins or minnows chances to rank high, I don't necessarily see any problem with that, because at the end of the day, other than the friends list, RNG will always be the final boss of this game, and spending money is still a choice. That being said, I do think that the development team really needs to sit down and take a look at how they are going to start appreciating the people who are going to help them get to that 10-year mark they're looking for. Because if the top key spenders in the game decided one day to just exodus and desync credit cards and call it a day, the game wouldn't last 3 months. So while I'm not necessarily opposed to where it's at for this particular Dark Visions, I think from a macro perspective as a whole, there's a huge issue with the way that spenders are being somewhat neglected, in that the things that we are spending on are now just giving us less, when now is the time that they should really be trying to entice people to spend more, because there are undoubtedly fewer spending on the game than there ever used to be in years 2 or 3.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I've heard some of that feedback as well, in a couple different places, with mixed reviews and mixed amounts of kind of criticism of that feedback. Like, I'm so sorry that you can't play the way you want to. Welcome to the rest of the game population. It's just, I don't know. I think DV just continues to kind of be very divisive, and which is part of why it's not really my favorite thing. But this one in particular, it's just very boring to me. So,
It's true. And that's just it, right? DV is ranked content that we get from JP, which is honestly in the exact same place to me as the JP units that come over. It's dated. It's not scaled for where global's at. It feels like it's something that is just there to fill space, to make up for the lack of lore, the lack of story, the lack of giving us reasons to care, even the lack of rerunning old story events so that things like unit popularity contests even matter in the first place. And so if we look at DV as just another thing that comes straight over from JP, copy paste, leave it alone, then honestly, it will probably always just be second fiddle for people, because nobody's gonna care. just like they didn't pull for Bart's, just like they didn't pull for Nielika, just like until leader skills come out, nobody's really gonna care. It's just where the game is at. And so there's opportunities for change with that, but until they either rationalize that or figure out some way to make it appealing for global players, it's probably going to stay exactly where it is.
All right. So I asked you guys, because I knew that there was going to be a Q&A section coming, because there always is. I asked you guys to think about it. If you could ask them at FFBE one question and actually get an answer, what do you think you would want to ask them?
When are we getting our next Chamber of Vengeance?
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, that would be a good one, because not only did they promise it, but they've only given us one.
Yeah, it's been what, 9 months since the anniversary.
Yeah. I guess we are getting really close, aren't we?
That'd be a really good question.
Man.
I don't know what I want out of this game, because I think about the glorious days of Rumble of the Marlboro and the original Abigail fights, where it could take you a while, but there were hundreds of ways to go about it, and you could grind your way through and figure out different strategies and fight it out. But I don't know how you do that now, when the whole point of tanks now is to be the super bulky thing where once they're down, now your whole party dies. I don't know. I would like for them to come up with ways to bring those kind of trials back, where it actually takes some grit, some effort, and you're not penalized for taking more than 15 turns. So that way, anyone who wants to actually slug it out that way can get it done and feel like they accomplished something without that one missing star kind of nagging at them.
You basically just brought up the fundamental problem with the game right now.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I don't know how you fix that, or I don't know how you could do that without basically unraveling what all they've built toward these last few years.
The answer could potentially be as simple as give units a kit that you actually have to learn. Because part of what you used to be able to do with old trials is you had to know a unit's rotation, you had to know what their kit did, you had to know the intricacies behind it. Like, think about when original Elena came out. She had a very, very specific rotation depending on what you wanted to do. And you needed to figure out how to build a team around facilitating that rotation, which you could then plug and play into the trial that you were doing. Nowadays, the units that we're getting have 4 skills. 3 of them are grandest skills that you can only use twice in a fight anyway. They're all built around one quick Nova, and then they're stuck with their terrible chaining skill if you did something wrong and can't figure it out. So the units themselves are no longer built for content like that. With the exception of, every now and again we get a global unit that has a sustainable kit, most of which is only available in Clash of Wills. And so I think Clash of Wills is as close to that as we're ever going to get, but even then you're still penalized for turn count. So they have to be willing to give us units that have skills that you can actually use more than twice for us to ever be able to build long-going strategies that aren't just, meat shields that take a bunch of damage and maybe give it back, maybe don't.
They actually did a trial similar to the old stuff in JP recently. It was the new Chamber of Arms. It does still have a turn count mission, so it's not exactly what you're asking for, but it definitely feels more along the lines of, like you're saying, the Rumble of Marlboro, where it's not just negate everything and ignore all mechanics and just use some DPS. You definitely need the whole support kit: the tank, the breaker, the buffer, the mitigations, the healing. All of that's very critical. I'm talking about the evil princess Byakuya or whatever, for those people that follow JP. But so there's something like that coming in the future. But even that, like I said, it does still have the turn count mission. So even at the end of the day, it is still heavily based around how high your burst damage is.
It seems like a petty gripe, the turn count mission thing, but I used to take time to work through stuff with people to get to these things, and then when they can't get the turn count mission, it's kind of like it bums them out. It's like, well, I got everything done, but there's still this. So I guess I'll wait 2 years when I have all the strong stuff and just come back and get it. And I mean, sure, that's fine, but it's still kind of demoralizing when you can't get it all done like everyone else.
Oh yeah, I agree entirely. I hate turn count missions because it just forces you into the highest DPS. I'm the kind of person that loves to build like turtle comps where I go all in for defenses and I slowly work the boss down. But that's just not really a viable option in Brave Exvius if you want to get all missions. And I wish it was.
That reminds me of your death machine clear in JP.
Yeah, that my first death machine clear was like 280 turns. Now I don't want to go that slow. Jeez. But yeah.
Good
oh
stuff.
No, I'm not asking to get that crazy. I think I spent 70 something on the original Abigail, and that was terrible, so I'm good on the 200 turns.
Yeah. Any other questions you wish you could ask them?
I'd like to know what it would take for them to be, and I mentioned this a lot, and I apologize for that, but for them to be willing to actually just give us more lore on these units that they're making. Like the fact that we get those crystal units every so rarely, and they're really cool. Now, granted, we haven't had a new crystal unit since the last anniversary with Vilk. And so we always seem to get story for those units, which makes us care, but we haven't even had a point where those units come together yet for any of that to matter. But the whole concept of precursors, they made a whole big showing about telling us that there were these precursors and telling us that they were super important, and they haven't told us anything about them. You have Carton, you have Kaito, you have not Elena, Esther. I mean, units that people really enjoy. Sky. I mean, really prevalent units in all of our metas that nobody has a chance to even learn or care about because they just don't tell us.
Yeah.
And so I'd probably want to ask them, can we ever get a story that makes things like precursors and the crystal units matter more than they currently do in the grand scheme of things, or are they just things that we're supposed to make our own headcanon?
Yeah, to your point, I couldn't even remember who the precursors were.
You're welcome.
Yeah, because they actually used to in the past. If you remember, most global units would have an event of some kind, even far back as like the original Frievia, Aiden, and Zahn. They had their little exploration, the little city they built for global, and they had talking and dialogues and all. And then a lot of stuff like the Ibarra story event, the Tiana story, not Tiana, Kryla and Christine story event. And then they had the actual literal story events like Elena and Wilk. So they've had a bunch of global stories, but it's just, we haven't had one since last anniversary.
Ongyan and Chao's event was amazing. It was so fun to put together. I mean,
all that stuff.
They were so good. And even if they would just want to relegate them to the holiday time, like at least we had them, But we have precursors, and the precursors are so cool. And we know nothing about them, what precursor means, why any of it is a thing. They just exist. Such a missed opportunity to really add depth to a world and make people care about pulling for a unit. People care about units for more than just numbers. Like you just saw Elena and Esther on this list because those are some of the very few units that we know anything about. And so because of that, they're going to keep showing up on these lists because we know anything about them.
Good deal.
Think about it. Frievia's thing when she first came out was an Easter thing, right? It was a big egg hunt.
Yeah.
See, they tied that in with Esther and Sylvie some kind of way, unless they did and I forgot.
I think Frievia was like a year before Esther, I think, by memory. So that Esther wasn't a thing yet.
Yes.
Right. So I'm saying down the way they could have tied them together since they were both originally Easter things.
Yeah, would have been great.
It's true. I mean, I'm just grateful that they threw Esther and Sylvie into Vilk's event. I mean, I'm very grateful that we got anything because we didn't even really have anything about Esther or Sylvie prior. We had a brief little blurb about them in the text that would appear before the Exterminator's elemental battle. But otherwise, we didn't have anything for them. So the fact that we actually got to learn who Marion was in the Vilk event was pretty great. It's just important to remember that that was Vilk's event that Sylvie and Esther happened to be a part of.
Okay.
Because again, he's a crystal unit, and they've pushed those because they're CG, and why not?
You were going to say MK?
Oh, I just said I agree. It's a bummer. They just need one writer on staff. Headcanon, I've got tons of that. I could do that. You guys, you could do the coding and rank one. Let me work on some of the stories.
She's volunteering. You heard it.
It's like, I'll make them a kit for Ong right now.
Good.
Dude, seriously.
All right. So we're going to move on to the last couple slides here. They showed us a couple of upcoming fun things. NV guaranteed weekly 10 free, which I think is fantastic. So, you know, just kind of giving us more of this, which is awesome. And then they're giving us the 48 million downloads rewards, which, you know, we're just hitting them all. So we're getting, you know, Lapis and tickets and a mystery crystal and more. Always the fun and more. And then they talked about this update. They talked about it very briefly, what this update was, which had to do with the jump variants, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they increased the jump variance for double hand jump dealers to make it so that the range was between, I believe, 2.5 and 2.8, which means it's just enough to not matter.
Just enough to not matter, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of funny because they went through this big ordeal to equalize dual wielding or double-handed jumps, and now we're going to just sabotage that. All of a sudden, one's better, one's not. Like, why wouldn't they update dual wield jumps as well? But nope, they don't. They just, once again, now one's worthless, one's not.
Yep.
So dumb.
I mean, I guess Sky's jumps get marginally better, but still not.
Yeah, the core issue with jumps is you don't get the amplifies.
Mm-hmm.
The only amplifiers you get is the 45 long-term ones, but all the ones we use today, the 100s, the 150s, etc., they don't get any of that.
The Edgar.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I still occasionally use Roberta's jump just for fun, but very seldom.
Yeah, but you're probably dual wielding with her.
I am dual wielding with her. And as we said earlier, I like to make things more complicated than they need to be. So
Exactly.
yeah,
It's fun to watch, though.
I appreciate that. Then the last thing they threw at us was just the community gifts, as always. So we're getting some Lapis and some, you know, a ticket and some energy and things like that. So there you go. And that was all the slides. So yay, we got through it all. Took a lot longer for us to get through it than for them to get through it, but that's kind of the way it seems like it goes around these videos. So, and anything else that we didn't touch on that you guys want to throw out there before we sign off for the night?
Let's really try to work on a fan festa thing, even if it's not this year, maybe next year. You know.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, it's as much as they were talking about it in the live stream, like maybe that's like them hinting at something, but like as much as they were talking about it, like talking about the fan festa units and the fan design stuff and what that was like, I never got to go to one. Okay, so I want to go to one. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, they're fun.
Be cool. Hope they start them again.
Yeah, I regret missing all the other ones. So if they do give us at least one more chance, I would like to go.
That'd be awesome.
Good deal. Anything else?
No, I gotta go to bed. Happy gaming.
Happy gaming, everybody. So thanks you guys for all being here. I really appreciate you hanging out for almost an hour and a half and talking about this really fun stuff with me.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Well, I'm gonna let all you guys say goodnight, and for everybody who's stuck around for this long, thank you for sticking around. And we'll be back on Tuesday for Tuesday Preppers, because that's what we do around here. You guys take care, be good to each other, and have a great night.
Later.
Bye.
All right, thanks everyone.